I'm Henry, and today I want to dive into the 5 forgotten elements of a fulfilling lifestyle. Because here's the thing, most people focus on money and they think that if they have enough money, everything will be fine. And while having enough money is essential, it won't necessarily lead to a fulfilling lifestyle. Because money is just a part of the puzzle. There are so many other pieces to the puzzle that need to be in place to live a fulfilling lifestyle. For example, I make enough money to support me and my family, and my business supports my lifestyle. I get to do work I love, but it also enables me to spend time with my family and friends and to spend time pursuing my other passions and my other interests. For example, right now I'm learning cartooning. My whole life I've had this belief where I thought that I wasn't artistic or I couldn't draw, and I still remember when I was about 6 or 7 years old when I tried drawing something and I got so frustrated that I threw the paper on the floor along with the pens. But now something has shifted, and I'll talk about something that helped me make that shift at the end of this podcast. But my business enables me to do what I enjoy doing in life. It enables me to read, travel, and just enjoy life. So there's a lot of moving parts to living a fulfilling lifestyle, and I think a lot of people miss out on most of them because they're just focused on building a 6-figure business or a 7-figure business. And what it comes down to is making enough money to be able to live the lifestyle you want. So it's not just about making more and more money, which is a trap that's easy to fall into, and a trap I fell into a few years ago when I was playing poker. So with all that said, let's dive into the first element, which is core desires. So what do I mean by core desires? I mean doing things that nourish you. What do you truly want to do? What do you desire? Do you enjoy adventure, or are you more of a person who likes peace and quiet? I'm more in the peace and quiet camp. I don't like loud parties and I don't like to drink. I like to hang out with close friends, maybe have some tea, and yes, even the occasional beer is fine. But I like quiet spaces and just having a conversation and enjoying myself without all the noise and without all the stress, because loud music and parties stress me out, and for some people those are exactly what they need. And you don't have to live in a big city and keep up with people if that's not your thing. You have to listen to what truly nourishes you. So why is this so important? Because it nourishes you just like healthy food does. It nourishes your soul when you follow your heart and follow your excitement. We have so many shoulds in our lives, and life starts getting interesting when you start letting those shoulds drop away. We have so many things we've learned as we've grown up that we have to do, or things are a certain way, or you can't do this and you have to do that. So look at your life and look at what kind of shoulds you have there that you don't really want to do. And for me, these shoulds have been dropping away steadily as the years have passed, and it's given me more energy, because when you have a lot of shoulds in your life, they unconsciously take up a lot of energy because you're constantly comparing if you're doing the right thing and if people will approve of you and all of these things. And when you let them drop away, and yeah, it's not easy, but when they start dropping away, you'll notice more energy, more enjoyment, and more peace. So, how can you follow your core desires? Well, look at what makes you come alive, what makes your heart sing, and what makes you grateful to be alive and to be doing what you want to do. For me right now, it's simply hanging out with my family, doing the work I do, writing, learning, cartooning, and just exploring life. I'm always learning new things, so I might have a period where I'm reading a lot of books about, say, meditation or spirituality, and I might have a period where I'm reading a lot about writing, and I'm doing a lot of writing, and I want to improve that part of myself. And sometimes I have periods where I don't do anything. I just do a lot of meditating, sitting, being really present in this moment, and it just kind of comes and goes. And my lifestyle business is what enables me to have a lot of free time and to focus on exploring life and doing what my heart wants to do. So, what if you don't know what your core desires are? My suggestion would be to just start small. What are you excited about right now? What were you excited about as a child? Remember, life is about exploration, not perfection. And we've learned that everything needs to be perfect and we can't make mistakes. And that just isn't true, because when you make mistakes and when you allow yourself to quote-unquote fail, that's when you start getting deeper into life. That's when you start realizing what you want to do and what fits for you. So don't take life too seriously. If you don't know what makes you come alive, then start somewhere. It doesn't matter where you start if you don't know where you're going. You could take an art class, take a dance class, or whatever seems interesting. Now let's move on to the second element, which is your surroundings. So this is basically where you live, in the town you live, in the apartment, and whatever is around you. Do you enjoy nature and peace and quiet? I know I do, and I currently live in the city. But it's pretty calm most of the time. People get rowdy sometimes on Fridays and Saturdays, but I'm okay with it. I would prefer to live more in the country, which will probably move soon, but I'm okay with where I am right now. So why are your surroundings so important? If you live in the city and you like peace and calm, you're going to start feeling stressed after a while if there's a lot of noise. So you have to listen to the needs of your body and your personality. You don't have to live a lifestyle that someone else thinks is cool. You just have to listen to yourself if you want to feel fulfilled. Because this all comes down to you living the lifestyle you want to live, and you won't get there by trying to emulate someone else's life. So, how do you make your surroundings fit? Well, there's no need to make hectic changes and suddenly move somewhere. Although in some cases, that's going to feel like the right move. Just be aware of what kind of surroundings energize you and what kind of surroundings deplete you. For example, I like hanging out with people, but after a while I need some alone time because I'm an introvert and I prefer to be alone a lot. So just feel into what makes you feel better and what makes you feel worse. Now, at this point, you may ask the question, well, what if I'm stuck? And what if I can't get away? You just do the best you can with what you have. Life goes slow sometimes, so accept what is and then see what comes after that. Don't try to force things or change things if they don't want to change. I've tried for a long time to force life to be the way I want it to be, and it's just not happening. So I've learned to mellow out a bit and just go with the flow of life. Now, I still have preferences and I still would like life to be a certain way, but I don't suffer as much when life doesn't turn out the way I want it to. Now let's move on to element number 3, which is relationships. Now, we covered this a bit in the last element, but let's dive deeper into relationships. And by relationships, I mean your friends and family, because the people you hang around with will determine how you feel to a large extent. So if you hang out with people who are constantly against you, it's going to make you feel like crap, or at least deplete your energy. And this especially applies to friends who are quote-unquote realistic and offer constructive criticism, or in other words, who don't believe you can live your dreams. True friends and real friends encourage you to go after what you're passionate about. They encourage you to follow your heart. Now, something to keep in mind is that most people are afraid of going after their dreams. So they will instinctively discourage you from doing what you love to do because they are projecting their fear onto you. So don't take it personally. In fact, don't take anything personally that other people do, because it always comes from their perspective and the beliefs they've picked up in their life. So how do you make relationships work, or how do you do this? Well, start by asking the question, what kind of people nourish you? Who do you just love hanging around with? Again, this may not happen all at once. Once we start following our passion and going down a different path than most people advocate, we might outgrow our friends. And for a while, you may have no friends at all, or just a few friends. This is very normal and actually to be expected, because you're in the middle of two worlds. New friends will come, so don't worry about it. It's natural to outgrow people and to move on. There are always certain periods in our lives where we need certain people to push us. And once we outgrow that and once we move on, we make new friends, and sometimes that takes years and sometimes that takes months. So whatever happens, let it be okay. Now again, what if you're stuck? And the bottom line is that you're never stuck. Look at how you're keeping yourself stuck if you think you're stuck. Because stuck means you're doing something to keep yourself there. So how are you stucking yourself? For example, if you're in a relationship that depletes you and makes you miserable, it's time to leave. If your family is full of energy sappers, there's no need to be around them. Just because they're family doesn't mean you're obligated to do anything. Now, this may be controversial for some people, but what this comes down to is that you have to stop allowing yourself to feel anything less than excited to be alive. You have to be ruthless with the people you let into your life, and you have to be ruthless with yourself, because often we are our worst enemy. We'll believe the thoughts we have, and we'll believe the nagging negative voice in our head, and it keeps us stuck. And that's how most people keep themselves where they are. Once you start becoming ruthless and becoming determined, you start thinking about how you can move forward and how you can constantly be moving toward more happiness and more enjoyment. Now, this doesn't mean you chase after drugs or anything that gives you a temporary high. It means going after something that gives you deep enjoyment, deep peace, and excitement. Now let's move on to element number 4, which is passions and interests. Because like I said in the beginning, a lifestyle business is just a part of the pie. You also have to enjoy the rest of your life, which is where passions, hobbies, and interests come in. And your business is supposed to support your lifestyle. This is not about building a business where you're stuck working all day long and then you're so exhausted that you don't have time for anything else. Now, obviously, the first few years of building your business will require more work and more time, but it should still allow you to have a lot of free time if you focus on the right tasks and take the right steps. And again, this comes down to doing what makes you come alive. It could be traveling, knitting, drawing, dancing, surfing, or anything. The only requirement is that it makes you feel good. So constantly listen to your heart and notice what makes you come alive and what excites you. And this is something we're never taught in school and in life, because most people live life through logic. So they think about what will put a roof over their heads and what's acceptable and what makes sense. And usually none of those things make sense, because even if you get everything that makes sense, everything that's logical, you won't be happy and you won't be fulfilled. And this is why so many people right now are waking up to the fact that they are miserable. They aren't happy in their jobs. They aren't happy with their life, and they often aren't happy in the relationships that they are in. And it takes courage to follow your heart and to put yourself first, because you might think that this is selfish in some way, but it's not. Because when you put yourself first, and when you become the example that others can follow, you start changing the world one person at a time. And that change must start with you. You have to feel passionate, you have to feel excited, and you have to feel grateful to be alive. And that happens when you do things that you love. And this includes the work you do, your hobbies, your passions, interests, and relationships, and your surroundings. All of those fit into your lifestyle and living a life that makes you feel fulfilled. Now, what if you don't have many interests, or what if you don't feel excited about anything? And it's the same thing as I mentioned earlier. If you don't know, then it doesn't matter where you start. So be on the lookout for things that grab your attention. You might see a flyer for an art class while walking to the store. If that happens, act on that hunch and see what comes out of it, because you just never know what will happen in life. And I'm sure if you're like me and you look back on your life, you'll see that the most important changes and events in your life were synchronicities. So for example, when I met my current girlfriend, we just met suddenly, and I decided to walk up to her, sit down, and start talking about oranges. And yes, I actually asked her, the first question I asked her was if she liked oranges. That's just how I am when I'm on a roll, I guess. So look at it as exploration. Feel free to explore the world with childlike curiosity. Forget about figuring things out and planning, and just enjoy yourself. Because if you look at your life and look at the times when your plans worked out perfectly and you figured things out, I'm sure you'll realize that in most of those cases, things didn't really feel fulfilling once you got to where you wanted to be. And this is because logic does not always help. We can't figure life out. We have to live life and then see what happens. And that brings us to our last element, which is perhaps the most important one, and it is personal growth. As you've probably heard many times, personal growth and happiness comes from the inside. So it's not just enough to read books about personal development and do exercises, at least not in my experience. The biggest thing I've ever done to become happier is to change my brain. And the way I've changed my brain is through meditation. Now, why is meditation important? Because it sounds boring, doesn't it? Well, scientists are discovering the benefits of meditation. They are discovering that our brains are very plastic, which means that our brain can change. And when you meditate, they discovered that not only does your brain change, but you become happier, you're able to focus and concentrate better, you're able to handle stress and challenges much easier, and you become more creative, you become more intuitive. And it's kind of like if this was possible to sell in a pill, it would be the most popular pill in the world. And meditation has changed my life completely. It's helped me go from angry at the world and constantly being negative and not believing in myself to being more confident, more creative, feeling like I'm in the flow much more. For example, when I'm writing an article, I pretty much never have a problem with writing articles, creating products, coming up with solutions to problems when I'm working with clients and when I'm working on my own business. And it's really been tremendous for me. So how do you meditate? Well, there are a lot of misconceptions out there. For example, I was talking to someone yesterday who believed that you had to put in an effort to silence your mind. And if you've ever tried that, then you know that it's pretty much impossible to silence your mind or make thoughts go away. Because when you're trying to silence your mind, that's another thought. And it just adds to the frustration of trying to silence everything. So meditation doesn't have to mean sitting down in a lotus posture for hours. It doesn't have to mean trying to quiet your mind when you can't. It doesn't have to mean doing anything you don't want to do. For me, meditation simply means being aware of the here and now. And it could mean being aware of my body, my breath, or just observing my thoughts. There's no effort to do anything, or be something, or think about something. Although in the beginning it's probably gonna feel like an effort. And I'm by no means an expert in meditation, but I have been doing this for the last 5 to 6 years, and it has changed my life. So what if you don't have time to meditate? Well, I have good news, because you can do it anywhere for any period of time. You can do it while you're waiting in line at the store, while driving your car, while listening to me right now. So notice your body and notice your breathing going in and out. And just being aware of your body and being aware of my words right now is meditation. So you could be walking outside and you could become very aware of how your body feels with each step. That's meditation. And I don't recommend you start by doing 30 minutes or 60 minutes. I recommend you start by doing just 1 minute or 10 seconds. And what do you do with those seconds or minutes? You can simply be aware of your breath, or be aware of your body, or if you want to, you can observe your thoughts. So you can take a step back and just watch your thoughts like on a TV screen. Because We are not our thoughts. If you were your thoughts, you would not be able to talk about them. Because in order for us to talk about our thoughts, we have to be able to take a step back, observe, and then say what's going on. So there's something behind the thoughts. And in the beginning, this probably won't make a lot of sense, so just do your best. And when you notice that you're aware of your body, you're already in the present moment. And when you notice that you haven't been present, that's when you're right here, right now. So try it out. There's probably tons of resources online you can find. And all I can say is that meditation has had a huge impact in my life. And the longer I've done it, the more fulfilled I've felt, the better I've become at dealing with stress and challenges, and the more my purpose has revealed itself. And today I just feel like I have whiskers on my body, like I'm feeling my way through life. And this doesn't mean that I don't have bad days, because I do have bad days. And when you're feeling bad, it's usually just feelings and old patterns leaving your body. And the most powerful time to be aware is when you're feeling anxious, afraid, or anything uncomfortable. If you look inside when you feel uncomfortable and when you're experiencing negative feelings, that's when you will experience tremendous changes. Because the more you do this, the more you discover that below all the anxiety, all the fear, and all the worrying about life, there's peace. Because that's what we are at our core. We are already enjoyment, peace, contentment, and joy. And that may sound a bit crazy, but that's what I've experienced as I've investigated all of this. And I recommend you investigate what truly goes on inside you. And I really think this should be taught in schools and to everyone, because we focus so much on the external that we forget about the internal. So that brings us to the end of this episode. So let's quickly wrap things up. And the real reason I wanted to make this podcast episode is because there's more to life than money. I was fortunate to discover this early in life. Because I was playing poker, I was able to travel the world. And I discovered that even though I had all this money and I was doing what was supposed to be fun, which was traveling, I wasn't happy because I wasn't doing what I truly wanted to do. But I don't regret any of that, because discovering what didn't work for me helped me discover what did work. So sometimes you have to chase money and get money to realize that it's not the holy grail of happiness. And I think this is a topic we can dive deeper into in future episodes, because there's a lot we can cover here, and this is a topic most people never cover. They focus on strategies, tactics, and making more money, which is fantastic. But when you have a more holistic view of what truly makes a difference in your life, that's when things start to change. That's when you can start approaching life and business in a whole different way. But for now, that's all for this time. I truly hope you enjoyed listening. And if this is your first time listening, I recommend you go back into the archives and listen to the past episodes, because there's a lot of good stuff there. And as always, if you want more goodies and if you want to discover more about what I do and how I can help you, just head on over to wakeupcloud.com and check out what's in store. So I'll see you in the next episode. This is Henry, signing out.